Hi everyone, Aidan here at the etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Curt Premium 4 bike rack and seeing how it fits on the back of our 2021 Nissan Rogue. This is going to be a hanging style bike rack that holds the bike by the frame hanging down below the arms. There's three main points of contact to make this work, all in the form of these stretchy rubber straps that hold the bike frame down into the cradles, with that third one being around the side here, limiting our side-to-side movement and helping with bike-to-bike contact. One thing I'll point out right away with the Nissan Rogue is that the whole rack sits very close to the vehicle, and that also means that this inner bike sits close to the vehicle. So as it's rocking back and forth, that movement isn't completely eliminated by the straps because they are stretchy. And as a result, going over any sort of bumps or stopping, you might experience enough rock and sway that depending on the bike we have loaded, you're going to have it hit the vehicle. Now, in some cases, you can help this by just adding something like a cam buckle strap through the front tire to keep it from moving side to side, or to strap all the bikes together and just limit the movement, but it's not a guaranteed solution, and with how close this sits, it's not going to be my preferred recommendation for a hanging style rack. For that, I'd recommend the Thule Hitching Post Pro. It just had better clearance. But if you want to learn more about the Curt Premium, stick around because there are some good things about it. So, with this being a hanging style rack, some things to keep in mind is that carbon frame bikes are not going to be a good option for this because frame contact just isn't good for them. And with alternative frame bikes and kids bikes, you're probably going to need a bike adapter bar. That's just going to give you a solid level point to attach your bike so that it actually fits over these dual arms and hangs level. I will say that with the Curt Premium though, certain kids bikes might not need the bike adapter bar because these arms narrow together at the end, making this whole setup a little bit more accommodating for those smaller kids frames. We've had instances where it doesn't work and a bike adapter bar is still needed, but it does help alleviate the issue and maybe eliminate the need to get something separate. So, with all that in mind, the last thing you need to think about is weight capacity. This rack can carry 180 pounds total across the four bikes. Try to evenly distribute that as best you can and load your heaviest bikes towards the inside edge, but that's what it can handle. And there is a 5-bike version of this available that adds a third set of kids cradles on the outer end and can carry 225 pounds. So if you need the higher capacity, then you can get that. But we'll get the bike unloaded, just pulling those rubber straps off of the locking tabs, like so, and lifting the bike up and away from the cradles. The arms do sit a little bit high up compared to some other options, so getting the bike unloaded, you've got to feed it back and forth a little bit and lift a bit higher, but it's not too bad overall. I've definitely had worse. And the lower hitch height on the Nissan Rogue keeps things manageable. You do have a tilting feature with this bike rack that's going to be all located at the bottom of the mast. There's a couple things back here. First, there's a hand knob that will loosen up to just unbind the mast a bit, a pin and clip through the side, and then this final pull pin at the top to finally release the mast down. And you can see why we have to have bikes unloaded for this, because they would be making contact with the ground with how far it tilts. But this does give us room to open up that back hatch, get to the cargo area if we need anything out of there, or just have a place to sit down and change our shoes before or after our ride. If you're using this rack just as a point A to point B type of device, chances are your bikes are already going to be unloaded when you get to the park or back home. So having the tilt-away feature inaccessible unless bikes are unloaded probably won't be too big of an issue for you. If you're using this on long trips though and you need that access, maybe let's say at a gas station in between stops, then yes, you might consider a platform-style bike rack that could tilt away with bikes loaded. Whenever you're lifting this back into place, just reverse the same steps we took to tilt it down to secure that mast again. That is going to help bind things up pretty well. And we can get some measurements. Starting off with the distance we add to the back. I'll just stay down here and get that measurement from the bumper to the end of the arms, which is going to be coming in at 34 inches. Honestly, for a 4-bike rack, that's not very much. It does still add some length to keep in mind when you're driving around, and that more compact position does come at the cost of coming closer to your vehicle. Some of the closer points up here is going to be 2.5 inches from the vehicle, and there is a little bit of movement there. So over time, as this starts to wear down and maybe isn't as solid, you might have vehicle contact. And at the bottom, at the bumper, it's going to be 2 inches here. So again, everything comes pretty close, a little bit too close for my own comfort, but you might not have a concern with that. Some things to keep in mind as well is the ability to fold these arms down when it's not in use. There's a pin and clip at the top to condense things down, so if we do leave this in the hitch between rides, we can condense it down and make it easier to drive around with. Now, for our new distance from the bumper to the furthest point out, it's only going to be 9.5 inches. So this is actually really compact, much easier to drive around with and to pull into a parking spot, maybe even your garage at home. You have to keep in mind that your backup camera is pretty much always going to be blocked because it's centered up with your vehicle, and so is your bike rack, so it's blocked. And your license plate, while it is mostly visible right now, when you have bikes loaded, it won't be as visible. And moving on down to the bottom of the bike rack, we can see it's working with our 2" by 2" receiver tube and comes with an anti-rattle bolt. The anti-rattle does keep things solid in the hitch. Like I said, there's movement at that pivot point, but in the hitch it's solid, and you can upgrade it to a locking anti-rattle bolt if you choose to. But overall, I think the better fit for the Nissan Rogue is that Thule Hitching Post Pro. If you're looking at a hanging style bike rack, that's the way I'd go, just because of the better clearances. You get similar weight capacity and it holds the bike pretty much in the same way. I like the Curt Premium, I just don't think it's the best fit because of how close it comes to the back of your Nissan Rogue. But that's just been our quick look at it and seeing how it fits. My name's Aidan, thanks for watching. Here we are on our test course. We'll take it through the slalom. This is going to show us the side-to-side action, which simulates turning corners or evasive maneuvers. We'll get to the alternating speed bumps. This will simulate hitting a curb or pothole or driving over uneven pavement. And we'll go over the full speed bumps. We can see the up and down action. This will be like driving in and out of a parking lot, garage, or driveway.